Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, I'm Sarah,
And I'm Helen, and
and
together
we're committed parenting.
we have a question for you.
Yes. So, are your kids getting on each other's nerves? Are they getting a little scrappy,
Yeah.
possibly?
Are they a bit like irritated with each other? Are the tones maybe not so friendly?
Or over here, are they getting just really bored that picking on their brother or sister is the best activity in town? It seems to be that way over here.
And I've fended off a few conversations here.
Yeah. Um, it occurs sometimes I want to wear white and black stripes for my referee outfit.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It's like my most well used job right now, actually, as I find, is like I get to be the ultimate referee. And that
Really?
is something I actually don't like doing. Like it's
Yeah.
actually like I don't want to get in between. I really want to foster my kids working out their disagreements together mutually. Like
Mm,
it's such a training ground for them for communication and
mm,
like to deal with things in the future and how to
mm.
handle, situations that they don't like or to stand up for themselves. And yet a quick pull for me to just like come involved with my referee outfit and just
Mm.
you over there, you say like to just dictate
Yeah.
and to just yeah, to just
Wow.
like handle the situation to make sure it doesn't get escalated.
Okay, so just hang 10 1 second. So it's not that you're saying that that's wrong to do, right?
No, not at all. Sometimes actually it's really needed. Like there are actually
Exactly.
times where, you know what, I don't really want anybody to get injured. And so for a safety
Yeah.
reason, it really is. Sometimes I have to come in and just you over there, you over there. But
Mm.
what I find that's happening because like there is a heightened level of this going on, I think really due to boredom. My one guy, like anytime he gets bored, like his favorite activity is to go find it on and like
Mm.
just poke the bear and find the different things to get him to react. Like that's his favorite game in town. And I'm just like one thing about the referee, I'm just because I'm well trained in it after all of these years, it's like I can just come in and very quickly, boom, like a couple words, and like it's handled.
Mm.
But what happens there is they actually miss the opportunity to like learn and how to speak to each other or how to work through a conflict or a problem
Mm.
is what I hear.
Mm.
It's funny with my older guys,
Yeah.
I can be more of that, like the facilitator,
Yes.
like more the facilitator role
Yeah.
where, it's like, oh, okay, well, I hear something isn't working, or I hear this is what's going on for you. And you can kind of like act as like that mediator, facilitator, third
Mm-hmm.
party where, you support them each being heard in a conversation. Um, and can, support them in, getting whatever their needs or communication is met. But with those younger ones right now, I find I mostly am in referee mode, and the
Mm.
facilitator is just
Mm.
coming out of the
Mm.
building,
Mm.
and it's a
I
missing.
okay.
And I really,
I Yeah, I was gonna say I remember we used to have these epic meetings. I can remember us all sitting around in our lounge, like having these epic meetings and everyone saying what was there, what needed to be
yeah,
solved. Oh man, and when I think back, the amount of energy and time that went into that was like unbelievable. Like really, it was like a whole full-time job.
yeah,
And when they were really small, I used to actually do the strategy of separating out. Like honestly, it was the only way that I didn't like for everyone to be safe or maintain people's sanity was to
mm.
actually separate people out.
Yeah. In our van, we had certain seating arrangements, and it's like,
Ah,
Bren, if you ever watch this, I do love you, and Bren was a little bit of a hellion that just really got a lot of satisfaction in his brother being upset and reacting.
oh
And
really?
so it's like Ren pretty much had his own bedroom all along. Everybody else shares rooms. Ren got a whole seat bench to himself in the van.
Actually, when you say that, I remember we positioned our kids. We would always position them with a seat in between. I mean, we had a van
Yeah.
too, always, because then you could have one in the back and two separate, like a seat in the front, or two in the back and two in the front. Yeah, it was strategy though. Like, so part
Yeah.
of what, what I'm hearing is one of the things we've used is actually strategy, and it's actually deciding when that strategy is worthwhile employing is part of what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Well, because it does, like, it is a really important key factor. Like, there is, like, for safety in a family. Like,
Yes.
one thing as being a parent, we really do understand our children's dynamics. We do understand, where they might go, what kind of
Really
things
well
they might
said.
do.
Yeah.
And we can do that looking ahead. Like, doing that looking ahead is actually really great parenting. Like, it's really great to set everybody up powerfully, to set everybody up so that, like, one thing I think one of my biggest commitments, like, as a parent, is that's really important, like, with having, a bunch of kids, I like their relations to each other is like
Mm,
one of the most important things for me.
mm,
Like, I really want them to get the value of family and siblings. I really want them to have healthy relationships that they look back. um yeah, like, of course they're going to fight, and of course they're going to have those moments. It's all part of it,
mm,
but like that through it, that they haven't cut off something. Like, sometimes with siblings, like, there can be something cut off,
mm,
that that other sibling just is something, and forevermore they're just not close.
mm.
and
Oh,
and that
totally.
and that to me just, oh, that breaks my heart of that happening. Like, I really
Mm,
notice a lot of my energy and my parenting goes towards fostering really great sibling dynamics. Not
mm,
perfect. Oh my gosh, we have fights. Oh my gosh, freaking galore in this house. Like, this house, that was actually something, like, especially in the younger years when they were younger and me being a little greener to parenting. Um, I'd be really embarrassed. I
mm,
would really, like, not want other parents to see my household and, like, what could happen with those sibling dynamics, because I made it mean that I just suck as a parent and
yeah.
I'm just causing my kids harm. And, like,
Mm,
a lot of it was management for safety, right? Like, there
mm,
was a lot of safety
mm,
management of just separate so that nobody got hurt.
mm,
And a lot of time went into, you know, kids' relationships with each other, and still does to this day. Like, if I
mm.
look, like right now with this, like right now, here we are thrown into this pandemic. So if you had kids that even got along, or, kids that had strategies or coping mechanisms, those might not be working the same right now, because
Exactly.
everybody's indoors together and having ultimate family time together, and
No, but
possibly bored, worried, anxious,
mm,
also feeding off, like, our own, like, as parents we have our different stresses and things happening, and so, like, all the dynamics get really
mm,
thrown off during this time,
mm.
which would likely, at least I know in this household, it likely kind of has people just a little bit more on edge, or are faster to be on edge.
Yeah, I think that there's an escalation, right? That isn't
Yeah.
necessarily there. I mean, it really is heightened. Like, it really sounds to me like for many of us, it's like being in a pressure cooker. You know, we're thrust together in a situation we didn't necessarily choose. And the usual stuff that we use to cope isn't there. So we really are like applying pressure to a family dynamic, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm just going to say that thing again. Why I think like the talking about it and actually noticing it, that's how it is going to give us a little bit of peace, right? And then that we get to do, like, yes, sometimes we get to use strategies, like what's actually the thing that's going to work right now, in this moment to keep people safe or whatever. And then what you were starting to point to is how do we keep creating sibling relationships that work on an ongoing level?
Yeah. And it's like those strategies set the pathway, or set an environment. I find the strategies can set an
Mm-hmm.
optimal environment for it to happen.
Really great.
And so, like, in the morning, what I used to do, I don't do it as many because it's almost like a natural routine, I guess, that I just do in my brain. If I look at it, I kind of just go through this list. But, like, I do the looking ahead. Like, what kind of things are we up to today?
Mm.
You know, does everybody have everything they need for that? What's needed and wanted. But part of that checklist is also looking at where each of the kids are with each other. Like, it's like, oh, are Rita and
Yeah.
Anon going to be in the same room for a long time, or are they both going to go? Well, what's going to be put in place then, so that they're set up prior to going? Like, I
Mm.
find, like, even right now, like, sometimes they'll go into the van to go for a ride, to go pick up like a box. They love picking up boxes because they build everything with cardboard right now. But it's like, there needs to be like, for them to get along before they get in that van. Right now, the way it is, they need a conversation before they get in that van, to
Mm.
prep it, or to, like, see the pathway to get along. And it's like, okay, well, both of you guys are going to come, and it's, and everybody's going to get along,
Mm.
and everybody's going to be kind to each other. And what's it going to take to be kind? And, and asking them that, like, are you ready for that? And giving them a chance to say what they need, or giving them a chance to, like, do the looking for themselves as well. Like, oh, well, how about they work, like, sometimes, like the other day when we said that, Anon's like, well, could I sit in the front seat this time? And I realized that's actually a fighting ground, is who gets to sit in the front seat, and it's like, doing, like, because that conversation got brought up before even going to the van, they got to do that looking and work that out before going to the van, and there was no fight. And so it's interesting. I find myself, like, it's those strategies that set up an environment where they can actually then get along. Because otherwise, puchka, not happening.
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. So when you have a small baby, you always take your bag with you, whatever that diaper bag, right? And you have like your diaper, like you actually have done the looking. And I know I got caught up lots of time, but you've actually done the looking, right? You've got your diapers and your wipes and your set of clothes or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But now what you're actually putting in is, so if we used to have a diaper bag, now we have a different kind of a bag. We have how do we actually have this next outing go well? Right? You're actually doing the prep.
Mm. Yeah. Just doing the looking. What are all the things that are needed? Well, it might be a conversation needed. It might be, setting them up across 2 different bench seats. It might be, letting them know what's expected. Like just when I say let them know what's expected, like, okay, well, kindness, everyone getting along is kind. Like, this is a privilege, and we get to go, and, and we all get to have, great family time together.
Yeah.
And I don't want to ever step over. Sometimes, sometimes they're actually not ready for that. Like, sometimes they're like, just like, no, I really hate my brother right now, and I don't want to even see him, and really angry. And then we can do that looking, well, maybe, like, does it work to go now? Does it, is there anything that being said? What do you then need? Like, breaking up then that conversation. Wow, you're really angry. Like, and not forgetting to, like, just even, like, recreate, like, their experience and what they're feeling. So that they can actually look for them. Like, it's actually, what I hear is, actually, I didn't realize until now, it's like, training them to do the looking.
Yeah.
By me doing the looking and bringing communication to it, it's they're getting to get trained in doing the looking.
Yeah.
And that's such a skill set. It's such a skill set.
Yeah, but it is. I mean, and you're actually setting them up for success, like, in that very moment. I know, like, part of my conversation is, this is, like, it's part of you, like, what's expected of you, but this is what we're going to do, and it looks like this. So we're going to go and drive for this long, and we'll be doing this, and you're going to be expected to do this, right? Like, you might need to say hello to someone. And what do you need so that it actually works for you? So does it mean, like, sometimes I need a blanket, or sometimes I need to bring a device to distract myself because I know I'm going to get bored? Or is it like a family game? Like, I know in our van we have, like, some games that are just, that belong in the car, and it's not as fancy as it sounds, but it's stuff that distracts. And I know, even for me as a kid driving, my family would always have some kind of game that we play. I don't know, like, where you'd count the number of cars until you see a red car, and then it would be the next person's turn. We used to call it cricket. But we're in North America now, so you won't know what cricket is. But, like, games like that engage. And I know my kids talk about that still. That we used to play those kind of games when we were on our way to something, or when the situation was heightened in the car. We had a set of games that we were reliable for play.
Well, what I hear, it's like, and I heard it the other day in a totally different context, not in families, but, like, basically your day is like an empty space, and, you're creating your day. And if, like, it's like, either you're going to create putting something into it, or it's going to just go haywire and something's going to get put into it.
Well, it's going to get filled up with something regardless.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, like, here, if you are going to the store, you're in your van, or you're just even walking around the house. Like, right now, we're just in the house a lot, right? Like, we're really inside the house, and it can get really rote quick, and everybody doing whatever. But, like, what I hear is, like, that morning aspect, for me anyways, it's that looking in the morning, and that communication as I, like, talk with the kids in the morning, or even the night before, of, like, going through what that next day is going to look like. Oh, we're going to be at the house all day again tomorrow. And, like, oh, you have that, meeting with this person at 1 o'clock on Zoom. And, I think we're going to be having X or Y for dinner. And, like, just creating that. And then, and then asking what they want to create in that space. Like, really, like, giving them some ownership and autonomy of then
Yes.
like, yeah, and what would you like to have in your day? And what would you like to
Yeah.
create? So that they're creating something there instead of just like a whole reaction and bouncing across things.
Yeah, and I think what you just pointed to there, that's where the sibling things escalate, right?
Hmm.
When,
And that's where I hear like all these strategies that we put in, like all of these
yeah,
different strategies, like and including distraction, which is actually great. Like it's a great connection tool. Like, you know,
yeah,
playing games is a great connection tool, and it creates the space and environment of something. So like really, like what all it does, it puts something in the space, so there's something created that holds the
yeah,
space that
yeah,
people can connect in. And when something isn't there, then you're a little bit more susceptible to some bouncing off each other kids.
yeah.
And then it's funny because I sometimes like when I go to create the days or stuff, sometimes it can feel like, oh, like, like a lot's on me to create something, right? And
Mm,
but what I hear is when I don't create something, way more is on me to manage the chaos, right? Like it's like an investment. It's really an
yes.
investment to do that looking, to have that conversations. And what a great nighttime. Like I remember doing that actually. Maybe I'll even do that now. It's like I used to do it with the boys just before bed. Like as like we tucked in, we always talk about like what the next day looked like to prep for it, to see if they needed anything or if I should like put anything on a list or
Mhm.
arrange it into creating what my day is. But and I tend to do that when we're busy or we have to go to a lot of places. But I
Yeah.
see the value of doing that even now with the pandemic and staying home. What a great opportunity the night before at bedtime to connect, have a moment together, and actually look at the day ahead and just bring it to a conversation. Like, this is what I see happening. What is there anything you want? Is there
Mm,
anything you need? Is there anything like whatever? And then it gives you also an ear of, will there be any breakdowns here? Will there be some sibling crazy that might need a little bit more attention
mhm,
during some certain hours?
mhm. And again, not like you're gonna stop that stuff. Not like you're gonna
Oh, I think
make it not
it's part
happen.
of them discovering relationships, right?
It
Like
really is.
it's an important part of upbringing, I think, is having some sibling dynamics and some conflict to go and get through and to
Yeah.
like learn about.
In fact, there's the whole world of thought around like it builds resilience. This is part of what builds resilience is having the opportunity to keep practicing this over and over in our families
Yeah,
because we keep coming back to them. We still have them for
yeah,
the most part, right? The family we're in is the family we're in, and we get to practice over and over.
yeah. Oh, and what I just heard there too, it's like when I'm present to the difference sibling dynamics makes for their future, like for them to like get like, yeah, the resilience and the skill sets that it brings. I can be with them fighting.
Mm,
And not like obviously I'm always create safety, right? Like sometimes I need to interject, but I can be with more. It's like when, because otherwise the like what's right there is that hook for like I'm a crappy parent. It's
and there's
like,
something wrong. You can hear
yeah,
it right there.
especially
That
against my
shouldn't be.
commitment. It shouldn't be like I'm doing it wrong. I'm damaging. Like it's really
Mm,
right there. It's like this is damaging their relationship. Oh my gosh, no, this isn't okay. I'm not doing the appropriate actions as a parent.
mm,
And then that's when I get escalated, and great. Then you bring an escalated person, a parent, into an escalated situation, and
yeah.
that's going to be really fun.
But I'm just gonna go back there because what you said is really like gold. If we can view our sibling conflict in our families as not something bad and where like something terrible's happened, but
Hmm.
really that they are for the future building their relationship. And
Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't look pretty. If that's the space we come from, then we don't have to get so escalated, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
because
that's
inside of that, they like discover their voice. They discover what they like, what they don't like. They discover what they're going to let people treat them as or not, or how they're going to navigate those kind of conversations.
yeah. And for me, it's not just yeah. It's what you just pointed to is how are they going to navigate this? Because at the end of the day, they still have to be in the house with that person,
Yeah.
and it might not be something that gets resolved today or even this week, but
Hmm.
over time. I mean, my boys when they were small, they used to really fight, and I was like, are they going to actually, is this going to be like, how's this going to go in the
Yeah.
long term? So now I have the benefit of having a 20 and a nearly 18-year-old in the house who really are amazing
Mm.
together. Like they rely on each other. They love each other. It's actually kind of, I have this bad thing. I say it's annoying. Like it's really amazing to watch who they are for each other, right?
Mhm. It's beautiful. And
But
same over
I didn't,
here.
but I
Like,
didn't know that was possible when they were 4 and 6. I did not know that's possible. And if there's one thing that I would want to say is we forget about our kids maturating, that their brains grow and change.
yes. Yeah. I'm so
And to
present to
me,
that. Like
yeah,
my kids fought, fought to the point where sometimes like we would like not go and do certain things
yeah,
because like the level of escalation and like for their safety. And not all of them, like the oldest two really got along great, but then
mm,
like Ren, that Ren, he just fought with, oh, Xander, tooth and nail.
mm,
And my youngest two, they've gone through phases of just fighting, but already, like, again, the other day they turned 10 and 12. They're fighting. It's so different now. Like the
mm,
maturation that is there, that I like at the time, it seems like it will never be there. At the time it's like so much worry and fear and panic that this is
mm,
how it's always going to
mm,
be.
mm,
And like you do forget that brain development piece, you
mm,
really do. Like as they develop, as they get more communication, as they go through this, like it's amazing the kind of relationships that can still be formed and that actually are formed, and actually that those fights actually supported forming.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and yeah, and then I'm just going to say on
great
a pure
reminder.
neurological level, right? That whole prefrontal cortex development, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I hear what the takeaways are is, first off, it's like kids fight,
Kids fight.
siblings, kids fight. Some kids don't get along all the time. And that's so normal and actually great. It's like it's a great opportunity that they're going to learn how so many skills. So many skills. And so for us as parents, we can get, it's not personal to us. It doesn't mean anything about our parenting or not our parenting. And then we can utilize different skills to support what's needed and wanted. And it's
Mm,
like as a parent, and this is where, with committed parenting, we're not a prescription. With committed parenting, it's you look for your commitment and where to come from. And that looks different for each parent. Like there's a space where, right, sometimes, yep, that referee is needed and wanted for
mhm,
safety. Just in, out, move, safety. Needed. Sometimes it's, conversation. It's supporting them in conversations.
mhm,
Sometimes it's letting them, argue it out.
mhm.
And it's your commitment that you get to stand in to create that. And it doesn't always have to be perfect.
No,
It's a
totally.
discovery process of what's needed and wanted and how much
Yeah,
support your kids need to work through that, because sometimes they do need some parent support. Sometimes, they have some big feelings involved, and
cancer.
they need somebody to support them processing that or to voice that, or they sometimes have requests to make of their siblings and they don't even know how to do that, and so they might need some support in that.
Totally.
They might need some boundary support, like, how can they feel safe, what's needed. Like our one son, he, like, I'm totally against locks on doors. I do not like having locks on doors, but like because like him and his youngest brother fought so badly and he often didn't feel safe. It's like for him, having a lock on his door gave him such safety that he could just exhale. We actually altered how we usually do things so that he
Mm,
could have that environment.
mm,
So it's like it's a case by case, moment to moment basis of
mm,
what do your kids need?
mm,
What is going to support this given your commitment?
mm,
And that's what I actually hear, the value actually of this conversation of committed parenting. It's like you go right back to what's my commitment?
mhm,
And that's like such great. I'm so glad I have such great training since we've been doing this, of like asking myself in those situations when
mhm.
escalation might be present, and I'm getting escalated. It's like one thing that alters me in the moment is asking myself, what is my commitment here?
Yeah,
What am I committed to? And it just gives me somewhere to breathe, somewhere to come from. It gives me my next actions. It's especially in these sibling dynamics and
yeah,
times when I'm starting to get escalated. It gives me
yeah,
some grounding.
yeah,
Yeah. So those are some real key takeaways. Kids are going to fight. It's perfect for them. It's actually going to shape them into the incredible human beings that they are. Maturation is going to happen. This isn't
yes.
forever. It's totally not forever.
You just went on mute.
sorry, a call was coming in, and you have your commitment to stand in. And these are all opportunities. And our
And
context really shapes things.
yeah, like how we're going to take it, how we're going to view it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay.
Awesome. And I know
So,
for myself, what my takeaway is that I'm taking on is I really, just because we're not busy and driving around and having all these appointments, the importance of for myself of what works for my family and creating that
mhm,
environment and doing that looking, that
yeah.
nighttime,
Yeah.
babe, tuck in, hi
Yeah.
boys, love you, and creating that day the next day forward.
Yes.
I'm taking that on.
You can do it on the simplest level for the youngest kid. That
Mhm.
thing.
Absolutely. It's transferable right to down to a
Mm,
baby, really. It's
mm.
just you then get to talk and connect and share with them about the next day.
Yeah.
It's a great training.
It really is.
Well, I'm
Awesome.
putting that on.
Hey,
Awesome.
thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you for being in this conversation. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 12:30 Pacific
12:30.
time, Monday to
Yeah.
Friday. We are here for Families Thrive.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.